Hello YouTube and welcome back to Old Flads. This is the Call of Duty Ghosts All Access vlog reaction thing. And okay, I'm going to start with some good things. Those of you who haven't watched it, I'll put a link below. It was out a couple of hours ago. Basically what they did was a half-hour show. They spoke to some people, they showed some footage, they spoke to some more people, and then they showed some footage. And then they showed the blue from E3. The good things. Okay, so I think the way they produced the whole show, the half-hour thing, I think that was really good. I quite enjoyed that. It was well presented, and the footage in it was pretty much what we wanted to see. I'm going to talk about the footage in a minute. We then spoke to some of the people that were actually actively involved. We also saw the director of the single-player campaign, who I thought he seemed like a pretty cool guy, and I think it was nice that he was actually working in conjunction with all the devs within the office. Now, whether that's entirely true, I don't know, but I think it's pretty cool that he was doing that, and he seemed to be on a fairly good level with regards to how people wanted to see certain things. And we also had the dog, which, if you didn't know, is called Riley. I'm sure everyone knows why the dog is called Riley. Okay, so let's get on to the gameplay. Now, the first thing we saw was All in the Deep, and this was an underwater level, which has been done in a few games now with varying success. But Call of Duty, what they did, what I was hoping to see. Okay, I wasn't so much particularly interested in the gameplay as such, although that's not entirely true, but what I wanted to see was that how this new engine was going to interact with everything around the player, how the lighting was going to work, and more importantly, I think for immersion purposes, particle effects. It's something that gets overlooked quite a lot, and it's a very important part of what I think most of the FPS games should be looking into the future. If you've ever seen videos of the NVIDIA physics, for example, and the way that they can actually create particles that interact with the player and just add to the whole experience, that's very important, and that's something I wanted to see. So let's get the good things out of the way first from In the Deep. I thought it looked great. I mean, the lighting's a bit hit and miss, granted, but as a comparison to other Call of Duties, I thought it looked really good, and the sounds underwater, they were quite nice, especially the gun underwater had a nice punch to it. It didn't change its sound at all, which I'll get onto that in a bit, but all in all, the way that the water reacted, the way that the guys came into the water, the modelling seemed to be very good in the underwater section. The lighting was cool. I saw a tweet that they put up that said, wow, the fish moved, this really is next gen, get the fuck out, right? Okay, the fish moved away from you in Super Mario 64. Do not think that means that they're being next gen. Okay, that's bollocks. They looked great though. I thought the sharks looked a bit stupid. They didn't look very real, and things around the textures underwater I really liked. I thought they looked really great. So as it came to the end, I thought the sounds were not great, to be honest. There was a lot of noise under there, and I know that you will hear certain things when you're underwater, but yeah, they sounded a bit like they were out of water, if that makes any sense at all. That's not great, because that's a inherent problem with the game engine and the way it interacts with its atmosphere and its sort of surroundings. So that wasn't great. Then we went on to see another level, and I can't remember what the next level was called, but I do know that what they were trying to create is the same thing that Battlefield do. It's with that big sort of panoramic cinematic viewpoint that you get as you come out into levels. Now this has been done very well by Battlefield, and Battlefield's one looks really great, and it looks really real, and I commend Call of Duty for accepting that they needed to take it somewhere, because in most Call of Duty games what you'll find is that you have a very set field of view. It tends to be you've got mountains on one side, or you've got a forest or jungle on one side of you, and you don't really get this massive landscape as such, which is something that it sort of closes you in, and it doesn't really give you the feeling of being involved in it. It's one of the immersion problems that Call of Duty really hasn't grasped in the last few episodes. So the fact that they've tried to add that in, and from what we saw in this level, this was also the level with the dog, of course. I thought that was good. I didn't think it looked amazing, but I think it looked good, and it was a step forward. And remember, although it is going to get direct comparison with the Frostbite 3 engine and the way that Battlefield 4 looks, I think what we're trying to look for, as much as anything, is a step forward from Call of Duty. Now, the fact that they're already a step behind graphically from BF3 means that it was always going to be a bit of a big ask to go 2 steps and bring it in front of BF4, but I think it's nice that they have taken at least the next step. Now, what we did see as well with this new level was the particle effects, of which there seemed to be pretty much none outside of the cinematics, and that concerns me. And like for example, the very first thing you do is you walk along with your dog next to you, and you jump off the side into what looks like, it certainly looks like a sort of, there's a bit of grass there, but there's also like a bit of scrub, and I'd expect some sort of dust cloud. It would only be very small, but I'd expect some sort of interaction with the floor as you landed. That wasn't there, so that was the immediate thing I saw. Then as you went along, we had the dog, and the dog looks great in the stills and in the cinematics again, but in the actual footage that they were playing, it looked very clunky. That's a bit of a concern for me, because once again, I think the dog is a gimmick, and the fact that he looks clunky as he was actually moving, that was a little bit of a concern. Once again, this is just highlighting the fact that this new game engine has tried, but they're trying to do more than what the engine is capable of. I think they were like limited. The designers went, we want to do this, and the programmers went, well, you can't, you can only do this, and that's obviously caused a conflict somewhere, and they've had to find a happy medium. Now, the dog also has the problem of well, from what we saw, he only has 1 attack. Now, I really hope that isn't the case. I'll be really, really disappointed if that is the case, because it just seems to do this thing where he knocks him over and then he goes for his face. That's fine, but it's not where I wanted to see it go. I wanted the dog to be able to do multiple attacks, multiple different things. And also, the AI seems to be really, really poor. From what they've shown in that game. The AI needed to take a huge leap forwards, and it really didn't. The last thing, I think it'll probably be the last thing I want to cover, when the dog goes through the window at the end, that again is another highlight of the particle effect, but the sort of surrounding environment effect, when he was moving through the grass, you saw bits of grass move out the way, and the grass looked quite good until he got close to the grass, and then it looked like a plastic piece of grass stood next to it. It did not look like a clump of real grass, and that is another problem, not with the design, but with the engine and the way that the light would react on grass. You look at Skyrim when it's modded and with its real grass textures, and it looks amazing. Okay, that's what I expected out of these next games. I expected really amazing grass. It seems something really small, but again, it just adds to the immersion that you would feel from these sort of games. I mean, these games now have to really bring people into them, especially in their single players. So Activision obviously spent a lot of money trying to bring in like lead directors from films to try and make the storyline as good as it can, and then it seems shackled almost by the game engine's capabilities, and I was really disappointed with that. I would want to see grass move out the way. I want to see animals move out the way and give away your position. I want to see things actually react to you, as opposed to being, you walk through this thing happens, it doesn't happen if you go slightly to the left, or it still happens if you go to the left because you've triggered off some invisible barrier. That does not seem to be present. That is a huge concern for me personally, but once again, it's a step forward, but it doesn't feel far enough, and I think they've been hugely shackled by this new game engine they said they were using is not a new game engine at all. It seems like it's just a slightly better version of their old engine. The gun, again, when he was firing, that doesn't sound great either. That really worries me. I want to hear different gun sounds from different areas, and I didn't really feel that. I didn't feel that, which is a shame. However, it did look pretty good, and it looked like an advancement on the old ones. What I am hoping is that maybe there'll be a few more tweaks. I don't suppose it's shipped yet, just quite yet. There's a few more months of development left, obviously. So hopefully they'll be able to change that. I don't think they'll be able to change it properly, because obviously their engine's not good enough. But that remains to be seen. I think the sort of the competition, now that we've seen Battlefield 4 and Call of Duty side by side, I think we've come to the conclusion now that Battlefield 4 looks much better, and therefore the immersion in the single player will probably be much better as well. Next stop is obviously the multiplayer, and from there we will see where these two games are really going. But as it stands, Call of Duty looks better, Battlefield 4 looks the best. I think that's fair to say. Anyway, let me know in the comments below. It's been quite a long vlog, I know it has, but it's quite a big topic. I want to cover it as best I can from the short video that we saw. And thank you very much for watching. I've been Flads. Cheers and goodbye.